Well, I'm Shawn Tiffany of Tiffany Cattle Company. My brother Shane and I have been in business here since the fall of 2007. So we're in our 11th year of operation. We today, between two facilities, are a 32,000 head custom cattle feeding operation, which what I mean by that is we are a service provider. So we provide feed, care, nutritional, veterinary, marketing oversight on behalf of customers who place their cattle with us. We currently don't own a single animal in the yard, and custom cattle feeding is our focus from a feedlot standpoint. But on the farming side of our operation, our focus is raising high quality feedstuffs to feed high quality beef. We have built our reputation in cattle feeding on feeding the best of the best genetics and achieving the best premiums available on behalf of our customers. And in order to do that, you have to have good genetics from the customer, but you also have to have great feed going into the system. And so, you know, the field we're standing in right now is corn and soybean blend, planted on 15-inch centers with the intent to chop for silage, and we will chop it for silage here in a couple months. But since 2010, this particular property has been virtually in a continuous corn and cover crop rotation. We have broke it out into wheat and a sorghum silage mung bean blend rotation at times to control rootworm beetle problems. But you know, this field from April till August is typically growing silage to take into the yard to feed cattle, and from August till we plant the next corn crop, it's raising a grazed cover crop to graze cattle on. And so a lot of our acres, the decision-making process is driven by how do we feed cattle with this property, but also how do we improve our soil health, how do we keep the ecosystem in a pristine condition to continue to hit high yield goals and high gain goals when we have cattle grazing on it. So, you know, we've done a lot of different experiments in this field. This was the first place that we cover cropped in 2010 and grazed. Took a couple years to really learn how to stock things, what were the best blends, and I think we've really got that figured out. You know, we grazed this field this year into early January and then got off. We're in the middle of a drought right now. We planted this about the 20th of April, and we need to get out here and spray it again. It looks like, as dry as we are, our herbicide program hasn't been quite as effective as I'd like for it to be. There's some things that are still dying down out here, but the corn looks healthy. We've got a nice residue cover here, and we're just praying for a rain in this situation, and it'll improve conditions considerably. You know, we got into cover crops strictly to add another line of business for our customers, but we've seen so many other advantages to it as well. Our cover crop grazing program is in high demand, and customers would fill every acre that we could plant. But our goals are to provide good, cheap gain for the customer, but then we capture the, you know, moisture holding capacity, the erosion control, the soil health, and every time we've planted a cover crop, we see a yield advantage in the following cash crop. So much so that we're even trying to replicate intercropping and multi-species blends in a lot of our cover crop or our cash crop systems as well, because it's been so effective in our cover crop systems. We cover crop primarily for grazing, but there's also places where we don't have fences and water where we'll cover crop for forage production, for a green manure type situation where we can't get manure into the fields, all the way down to just creating a living snow fence. And so we like to have something growing on our acres every single day of the year if at all possible. And that doesn't work out perfectly every year, but a high percentage of our acres annually will have cover crops, and we always have something growing and something grazing. The only months of the year between Flint Hills pastures and our cover crop systems that we won't be grazing cattle is February and March, and that's just because by that time of the winter, typically we've either grazed it down to where I want to get the cattle off, or it's just so cold we don't have water systems that'll still function in that time of year.
Right.
Well, you know, we've been doing it for 8 or 9 years now. And when we started, I think it was starting to gain some momentum, but there wasn't a lot of people doing it. But where I got introduced to cover crops was at a field day. And I would encourage people to go attend a field day, talk to a producer that's in your area, or even if you have to drive a state away, talk to somebody that's doing it and ask them to go walk their fields with them and see what they're doing. There's a lot of resources out there today that weren't there 8, 10, 15 years ago, and there's a lot of interest in it as well. Find a seed dealer that is willing to, you know, visit with you about things. I bounce ideas off of my cover crop seed supplier all the time. Now, occasionally I'm trying some things that are so radical, I have heard, well, I don't know of anybody doing that before, but and then that's the other thing. Don't be afraid to just step out and try something. We've tried a lot of different things, and some of them we don't do any longer, but I will say that we've never done anything that I just said that flat didn't work, it was a mistake. I mean, we've seen advantages in every cover crop system that we've attempted. But in our deal, you know, we have a feedlot, we have a lot of livestock, and so our focus is forage production, whether we are harvesting that mechanically or we're harvesting it with a bovine.